record.
It's so much more complicated than just clicking go, isn't it?
It is.
Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, isn't it? And that means that yesterday was May the 5th and Duchy has released into 1.0, and I'm very excited today to be joined by JB, the games director and one of the developers of the game. And JB, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Yeah, thanks you for having me. So as you can tell by my accent, I am French, and actually the whole studio and the publishing team as well, we are all French people. I'm about 30 years old, 32, and I've been working in the game industry for 10 years now. I started at Ubisoft for quite some time, and I left and decided to create this studio, Sleepy Mill, in 2022. And today, here we are, almost 3 years later. Finally, we can, or you can at least play Duchy, the full release. And I'm super excited to be with you tonight to answer some questions, to chat with the people who will join us, hopefully. Lots of them.
I'm very excited to have you. I was playing the Drop Duchy demo several months back, and lots of people over on YouTube were enjoying those videos. They did very well. And yesterday, after the first episode dropped, after the release came out, the views are doing very well for me, and people are enjoying seeing all of the wonderful stuff that the game has to offer. So in which case, let's jump over to the main screen. Let's get away from that, please. Thank you. Right, so this is 1.0 Drop Duchy. I have several hours in the game already. I'm up to 13 hours in the game, and I've been having a great time with it. I've got a bunch of progress in my skill tree, although there's still plenty more for me to get unlocking. So, been enjoying finding the new secrets and the new unlocks, new mechanics. It's all there, and it's just a wonderful time.
I'm glad to hear that. Yes, you've done quite a lot of progress, actually.
Yeah, it tells you the percentage somewhere. So 61% of everything so far.
Yes, so that's a lot. That's really good.
I was wondering, over in the collection, you can see stamps on the cards that you've managed to be victorious with. Do these change for the difficulties, or is it just one stamp to say you've won at one point?
Yeah, there's one for each difficulty.
Oh yeah,
so you have 2 different types, so I don't know, maybe I can't remember, there are some easy, hard.
I think this must be medium, and this castle or large manor country house is probably hard, because that was the one hard mode win I think I've done, but I could have that backwards.
It's supposed to be like kind of similar to the illustrations you have when you select the difficulty.
Oh,
There is
yeah.
this little tower, and it grows bigger, and the weather is
Oh, my.
more and more extreme.
And then there's the trials that I haven't even had time to think or look into yet that I'm very excited to jump into. But for now, I think we'll just jump into a normal difficulty run and we'll take out the regular old Duchy because some people might not have had time to explore the Republic or the Order yet, and we don't want to spoil too much stuff ahead of their chance to explore the game as well.
Yeah, of course, it's the most versatile one. There are so many possibilities with it.
And so because I've done several of the missions, I have various upgrades, including the garden, which is new to the 1.0 game from the demo, and I've upgraded my farm to a fortified farm to get me my extra soldiers. And so, do you generally like to go for more forest or more clearing?
It really depends. You need to see what's ahead, so I can answer. Oh, okay, interesting. I like to just have a look and see if like forest is going to be if there is going to be enough forest and if there is going to be a wood depot, which is the case. And in that case, I prefer to go for more food, so more plants early on.
All right, we can check out some planes.
Yes, I think it's always a good choice. You can unlock new slots faster.
So, obviously, one of the big inspirations for the game is Tetris. That's incredibly apparent. But what other games were you kind of drawing inspiration from when you decided to make it a deck builder with these kind of contiguous areas that you have to build up for your city management? And there's just so... Sorry, I don't... my OBS studio seems to have disconnected and come back, but I was just asking... seems to have disconnected and come back, but I was just asking, alongside Tetris, what other games in various genres inspired you to build Drop Duchy the way you have?
So the third, like the biggest one, is a board game that's called My City. It came out, I think, 2 years ago, or like the year before I started working on Drop Duchy. It's really great, you know, tile-laying board game that is like sort of in the same vein as Carcassonne. And this game has really lots of interesting rules for like how you can play styles and score points based on what's next to one another and everything like this. And so this is the moment when I thought that it could be really make for a deep game with lots of content, because I have to admit that although I liked the idea of the game, I'm not a big fan of Dorf Romantic. You know, it was a huge hit on Steam. It's also a tile laying game that's very board game inspired, but to my liking, it was too simple, not enough possibilities and rules. So yeah, this was the starting inspiration to say, yeah, I want to design a game where there are so many different types of tiles and buildings and rules, and you need to combine them.
I must say, I have played the entire campaign of My City myself and had a fantastic time with it, and it's kind of quite evident the similarities to the laying tiles into groups and colors to get the most benefits back at the end of the round. And so you've really done a good job translating the experience of playing My City as a board game to something that takes advantage of the digital space as a video game.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's really you can see the inspiration. There's a funny anecdote I have about it. It's that I've brought the game to one of the workshops we had with the team, because there is no studio actually, so we do not have an office. We just work all from home and meet at every other month or so. And I've brought them the game, so we had a test, and they all said, yeah, okay, so that's definitely Drop Duchy is a game. And I wanted to say, yeah, it's just that Drop Duchy is actually more My City is a video game. It's it's the other way around actually. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that the deck building element wasn't in the original concept. Actually, I thought at first that it would be too much and that the game was too much already. So the game started more as a, I would say, strategy type of game. Maybe more like Icelanders or something like this. And at some point, it wasn't really clear what you could or couldn't do with your buildings, like how, like when are your buildings included in a round, how does that work, what is their effect and whatnot. And so I realized maybe 2 months into the project that using cards was, and deck building type of mechanics was really a perfect match, but it wasn't in the very first concept.
I can imagine the changes you go through, because if you didn't start as thinking, okay, we're going to make a card game, then you'll go through as many iterations of things before finally settling on, okay, cards will be the medium in which you interact with the game. And before that, there's just such a wide open design space in so many different ways.
Yes, I've actually posted yesterday or the day before on Twitter the very first prototype that I had. And if I recall correctly, one of the biggest difference was that the gameplay was endless, like the grid was endless, so you could go as high as you want, and you could purchase new buildings only when you completed lines, or there was no exploration back then. So yeah, but that Twitter video is really showing some interesting mechanics that I didn't kept, such as, for instance, all these little characters moving around, and it wasn't really going to work this way. So it was more for endless scoring challenge, I guess. And then the roguelite structure came in, and it made so much sense.
Yeah,
I was afraid. Yeah, I was just afraid that it would be too much. And now that's kind of a selling point of the game. I feel like when I'm reading reviews, like just since yesterday, people are always mentioning it's such a weird mashup, and it does everything, but actually it's like not a problem. It works.
Yeah, it's one of the good qualities of the different stages of the game, because I think you described there that there was a version where you would get to buy buildings when you clear lines, but I think
Yes.
the dividing line here of you have your strategy outside the encounters, so deciding what resources to gain, what path to take, what buildings to choose, and then having that set in decided going into each encounter, so then you know what resources you're using in the encounter, rather than having to make more decisions about what's going to change on the fly during the dropping itself.
Yes, that was also a big part of the decision, yes, to move on to add a second, I call these scenes. So there is one, the major theme is the one we are seeing right now, which is the grid. And I added the map only after starting to implement some roguelite elements to it. And the reason why was mainly for the pacing and the flow of the game. Like doing the grid can be stressful. It's a lot of things you have to learn, to think about, and so having another part, the map, where you can take more time to make choices, spend your resources, think about what to do next, and really have time to breathe was important for the flow of the game. When it was endless, it was too intense and tiring.
And I think there's some really nice little design pieces, like the way things go during the dropping sessions is that your piece doesn't start dropping until you start making a move, so you can take as much time you want to start thinking about what piece you're going to play. If you decide that you're not happy with the piece that's currently falling, you can use your hold to change the piece that's being held, and you can do that as many times as you want. So there's not too much pressure on the player to make the perfect decision at every single moment, but you do have to continue to make a good series of good decisions.
Yes, indeed. And again, that wasn't really the case at first. Like the game was much more arcade, I would say. It was at the start. I think when I pitched to publishers, so really early in the development, there was no reserve back then, so you couldn't store a piece or set a piece aside for later. Then the piece that was in reserve, you couldn't do infinite, like, back and forth. So and generally speaking, the speed was much higher. And I think that worked at the beginning of the project when the cards were all simple. There were only few cards and all of them were simple. The Watchtower, I think, was one of the first ones. The Wood Clearer was here from the start as well. Those were quite simple cards, and it was okay. But as we started to add more and more content to the game, the speed at which the pieces are falling was just too frustrating. So we removed that part, and it doesn't make for more. It makes for a more interesting experience where you have more time to think, and maybe we can make a speed mode later for those who like this sort of change.
Yeah, I think a lot of games can be frustrating when kind of the speed of play sometimes feels arbitrary, and for players with kind of slower reflexes or that need more time to think about their decisions, being forced to make more actions per minute doesn't make the game more fun. And so by eliminating some of that pacing issue, you open the game up to more players and they get to make more fun and interesting decisions rather than just panicking to make whatever decision might kind of feel reasonably okay.
Yes, definitely. And it didn't, really hurt the game back then, but that's just one thing that you learn when you are developing video games, and this isn't my first. Sometimes there are things that work or that are fun in prototype stage, or when you only have a demo or something, and then when you expand it to a full experience, it's no longer fun. Working at Ubisoft, I've seen this a lot of times with like the menus or the map, or when you're only on a small portion of the world because it's just the beginning of the project. There are things that are okay, and that later you realize that when you have a full open world with tons of systems and lots of things happening, there aren't anymore. And so yeah, the falling speed is one of those. I've seen an interesting question in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Oh, just a quick question. Does the game run okay on the Steam Deck? Yes, it does. You might want to lower the settings, the default settings, especially if you want to save some battery life, because it can drain battery quite quick otherwise. So fake Alex Blue is saying that there aren't many ways to manipulate the tile order, unlike other deck builders, and I do agree. I don't think it's really a choice, but to me it was never really a big issue in the game, although some players definitely dislike that, because unlike a Slay the Spire where you draw a hand and you need to deal with your hand and you need to do whatever you can with the hand you've been drawing, in Drop Duchy you have a lot of agency to organize the grid. So even if the pieces don't come in the best possible order, you always have some options to reduce or to increase, depends, the odds of one effect triggering.
Yeah, I think it becomes a balancing game.
Yeah.
It becomes a balancing game of knowing what is the makeup of the terrain of the encounter you're entering, and what cards can I hold and change to best make use of that, because you do get to have more than the 6 or 7 cards you take into any encounter, and you can chop and change what you're taking into any individual encounter. So as much as the deck is randomly assigned to you as you play, the contents of the deck is kind of the thing you get to know about as you go.
Yes, I think, I don't know about you, but I've played hundreds of hours now, and with experience I get to remember which cards are going to come, and make sure to always prepare a spot and for them. So when you get experience with the game, you just know how to organize the grid so that you are not screwed by the RNG.
It's just when you're waiting for a line piece that refuses to come.
Yes, that's the bad luck. But in the game, it's not that random. Don't know if people notice that, but it's really even more generous than in normal Tetris, because you will always see all 7 piece shapes before seeing another, before seeing them again. So, like, even if you're really unlucky, there should be always 2 eyes. So normally it should always be good, but sometimes it's not the correct terrain or whatnot. But
that's,
you can't do much against that.
It's great knowledge that it will, to know that you're going to see one of each tile type before they repeat again.
Yes,
is something I didn't know, certainly, and so that certainly adds more agency to the decisions that you can make.
Yeah, and I think there is always at least 14 pieces of terrain. Maybe not if you've lots of big buildings and the enemy has big buildings as well. But the way it works, like the terrain selection, is that the grid will always be filled entirely, except for the top 2 rows. Yes, that's it. If you count the number of squares, and then we use the proportions of the biome you've selected to know which pieces to add to the which shapes and terrain to add to the round deck.
Well, that is
so yeah. There's always going to be 2 of each shape, almost always. But sometimes you can be unlucky and they are very far apart, or they do not come up at the right.
And sometimes it will feel a bit strange when you've got the S piece and the Z piece back to back, and you get them in the wrong order that you would prefer them.
Yes.
It feels like the game's being unfair, even though it's just the RNG giving you those two pieces as equally as it will give you any other two pieces.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. And honestly, to me, it's quite surprising. I mean, I was surprised a little bit by the reaction, some of the negative reactions that we had on Steam, on the reviews or on the forum, the discussions. It's to me that's part of the fun, to have some randomness. I've been playing some card games for a long time, and you prepare your 30 cards deck and you won't see half of it during the game, and sometimes that just it's just how it is. Your best card is never going to show up, or if you've played Magic the Gathering, it's bad draws can happen a lot.
Yeah, I think
but,
a lot of gamers will kind of fall into one of the two camps of they enjoy, or can at least tolerate some RNG, or there will be a group of gamers that just kind of don't gel with it, and that's totally fine. But we're seeing the same kind of thing. There's a lot of people that have enjoyed the new release Blueprints until they get stuck on the RNG elements, and then they don't enjoy it anymore. And so you can't bring every game to a standard of RNG that's going to make every player happy. And so that's just up to the player to decide what parts of RNG they'll enjoy or not.
Yeah, definitely. There are some, like I've been playing a lot of Balatro as well, and I feel like there is less RNG in Drop Duchy compared to Balatro. Like, I don't know. I do not feel it. I do not feel it so strong, but yeah, some people have lower tolerance to it. It's okay.
Well, I actually spoke to the developer of Balatro when I said that I was going to be interviewing another game developer, and what question would they like to be asked as a game developer? What would that question be to other game developers? And so they wanted to know, who did you make the game for when you first kind of conceptualized the idea of Drop Duchy? Was there somebody that you had in mind as the audience for that game, whether it was friends, family, a group of players that already liked to play My City or Tetris players? Who was that kind of inspiration for the game as an audience?
Wow, it's a really interesting question. I have to be honest, I think I was making the game for myself. So when I left my previous job, I'm lucky to be French, and we have some good unemployment benefits, especially when you say that you are trying to create a company. They are more than happy to let you do just that, and not harass you to find a job. So I knew that I was like on a timer, and that if I really wanted to have a studio, I needed to find some good idea that had some potential to reach an audience, and it needed to be something that I was comfortable, or that was doable just by myself, and doable quite quickly. So this is really how I came up with this idea. Actually, just before starting working on the game, it was I think the 2nd of January in 2023, or maybe the 3rd, just like right after New Year's Eve. I've just before that I was doing some research on what works on Steam, what are the types of games that works, what our audience is expecting, what are the sales figure you can expect or you can hope to reach. and I was juggling with several ideas actually, some of which might come, the actual project for the studio in the future. And this one, Drop Duchy, was the smallest, like really the smallest and the most like the simplest project to develop. As I said earlier, at first it was just more of an arcade scoring type of game. There was no deck building, no 3D graphics and everything. And so that was an idea I was excited about due to my city and whatnot. I thought that could be good, and when I was doing some research, so Balatro didn't exist at the time, or it wasn't announced at
Right.
least. But there was Peglin
Yep.
and Backpack Battles, and these type of games were having really lots of success, and I was comfortable or confident at least that having some hybrid strategy gameplay. Well, actually, roguelite should have made it roguelite from the start. Roguelite was, something that gamers liked, and so yeah, that's why I went for this idea. And I was hoping first I was hoping to publish it myself, and then as the game scope got bigger, I thought of going and to pitch to publishers, and my pitch deck was mentioning Peglin and Slade and Backpack Battles, and saying, there's type of game that seems to work. I'm making such a game, so maybe it will work. And
because now it's, of course, not just you at Sleeping Mill Studios. There's a small group of you now that have been making the game for the last year or two.
Yes, exactly. So I was starting the game alone for like the majority of 2023, and as soon as I signed with Circa 2, the publisher, they gave me funding to hire the rest of the team. And so I started with the two artists, so Duchy and Tom. They are both working since like November 2023. Duchy is doing the art direction in general, all the UI elements, all the illustrations, like such as the tech cards, the logo, the icons and whatnot. And meanwhile, Tom is the 3D artist and is doing all the 3D. So a lot of his work was on the buildings, since we have many of those in the game, but also the map and also the grid and the backgrounds decor. And then after that we add some people for the sound and the music, for the VFX as well, and the game designer as well, to help a content designer even, I should say, so that I could continue doing the programming and the systems in general, like general rules of the game, and one designer was really focused on the content, so designing all the cards, making sure they worked properly, and improving them constantly. And later, like in 2024, also all the balancing, which took a lot of time.
I can imagine. Yes.
Yes. That's how we are working. So it's really small team. I think if you look at the credits, it's a small team, and since some people are not like full time, it's even less than that. I'd say on average, I had calculated that we were three people on average for the duration of the project.
Well, you've managed to come together to make a wonderful game, and it like there's so many of the little details, like the trees in the 3D art, and every single building, and every tile, and every window and brick. You can see it all there. Appreciably, I'm playing on quite a large monitor at quite a good resolution, but it's all there to be enjoyed and observed whilst the game just kind of goes on. Everything's looking beautiful in the background.
Yes, that was big goal from the start. The art direction, I'm really not an artist, and from the start I've asked Gauthier to make something that feels physical. That was my direction, my, I don't know, creative direction for him, something. And he was really behind, like he really loved the idea of making something that looks like a scale model. That was the inspiration. That's how we came up with the idea of making those flat trees that are actually 2D, to have this great emphasis on the readability of the buildings, of mixing different styles, of using the base of each building to sort of indicate which terrains it worked on. Really
and how
yes,
the graphic layer of the water, you can see it move. Like the water moves even though the tile is static.
Yes.
And then when you join the pieces together, they actively grow into wider lakes and streams and rivers.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed it, because that was quite a nightmare. Not a nightmare, but one of the hardest challenge. And it's not really perfect, because I would prefer if some tiles such as the river castle would connect to the water too. Yeah, one thing that's maybe interesting to mention here, and it can also answer a little bit the question from Alex in the chat, is that when we started the first step of the art direction with Gauthier, we were envisioning something more stylized, as we say in the video, more cartoony. And actually, when we sent the first concept piece, so it was the lumber camp, to several 3D artists to test, and to figure out and find the best possible artist for the game. Tom, so the one who ended up being selected and hired for the project, was the one who was the furthest from the concept, because he brought his own spin on the art direction, and his idea was to have some more realism in the textures. So it shouldn't work, but somehow it does. The game has some very stylized and minimalistic assets, like the mountains, for instance. You can see in the background they're very, very simple and cartoony, but like the water is going to be more detailed and feels more realistic, and it just works. So it was a really good idea to mix those influences. It also feels more like a scale model this way, and so we're really happy about this choice. It's also the same for the UI. That's also something that didn't feel like logic or too coherent to do. There are some elements, such as the icons, for instance, that are very simple, and meanwhile there are some others, such as, I don't know, the health bar, the top right, which is much more detailed. They aren't really matching in style, but just like the gameplay is a mashup of several inspiration and several genres of game. The art direction is also a mix of several inspiration, and it just works.
Well, it all comes together to make something that's kind of greater than the sum of all of its parts, and
Yes.
it really does, like, the art direction takes this, like, the smooth, gentle look of the rocks, the background, and the trees and the grass, compared to like the hyper realistic look of the buildings, really kind of makes them pop.
Yes, that was one of the big. We can see it on the map when you get back to the map later. There was this idea from the start from Duchy to have this to not have any blur or any elements that are out of focus. There is a very little vignette effect on the game, very discrete one. So the idea was that to draw the attention towards the important elements, which in the game are buildings. The other elements needed to be simpler graphically and more like low resolution. That was really an idea. And if you look at the map, like what we call a diorama of the boss on the map, you can really see that, like, from bottom to the top, the bottom part is more low poly and less defined, and the top part has more detail. Yes, that's how they designed the buildings.
And then there's everybody's favorite little rock paper scissors minigame for the combat elements, which I still do not get absolutely correct every time, but I get it correct enough, and that's good enough for me.
This one is really interesting. The combat system, I really want to write an article about it at some point, because we've been through so many iterations that just didn't really work, and this one isn't perfect, but it just does the job, and so we've kept it. And yeah, again, I feel like it depends on the on people, but to me, not knowing the exact outcome is part of the fun. That's there's this tension. It's the same in bilateral. You could use a calculator and really make sure that your counts are correct, but trying to guesstimate whether or not you're going to make it or whether or not your plan is good, I think it's fun, but some players hate it.
Yeah, I think, like, especially
so maybe
with enough hours in the game, you will slowly kind of build that internal intuition of what works best. And then you don't need to have it just spelled out for you, because if it's spelled out for you, it's not really you making a decision, it's you re-clicking all the buttons until the best result appears.
Yes, but definitely. That's my reasoning as well. Now there are some players that leave a negative review on Steam and say that the combat is ruining the game for them because they don't want to play a math puzzle, which I can understand, but it's not that difficult of a puzzle.
No, it's literally rock paper scissors, isn't it?
Yes, I mean there are some sometimes it can be a bit tricky if you're trying to figure out which type is going to be better against which type, but in general it's not too hard. But I understand that some people might not like it, so I don't know, maybe someday I will add an option to skip those phases in the auto.
Yeah, because
automatic resolution.
Sometimes, like, it becomes a line between, like, kind of aiding the player so that everybody can have the best experience, but you just put that option further into a menu and make it clear with a pop-up that says, this mode has been included so that everybody can enjoy the game at their best standard as possible, but it is not the developer's original design intent for this mode to be used. Use it as you wish, but it will change the way the game is perceived. Because I think Celeste does this very well, where you kind of get the assist mode, and it kind of says very clearly, this isn't what we intended, but if you get to enjoy the game because of this, please use it.
Yes, and I've had one person actually told me that there this, I don't know how it's going to be called in English, but learning disability, that's where it's like very difficult for some people to, do calculations and
I think it's like you have
numbers.
Dyslexia is problems reading, and dyspraxia. No, dyspraxia might be problems holding objects, but there is the equivalent for not being able to do mathematics very easily. And so, whatever that term is that I'm now forgetting, somebody will remind me.
So yeah, for some, so I don't know if they would choose to play a game such as Drop Duchy, but for those people, that would be like mandatory accessibility option, which I could include, just like colorblind mode or whatever. And Alex is saying dyscalculia. Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
The combat itself isn't by volume that much of the gameplay, right? Yes, and that's that has been really a problem, another problem, but one of the challenges that we had throughout the development, because at first it was taking too much space or too much time, and so people wanted to spend more time on the grid and placing pieces, and yeah, that was one of the reasons why we switched to this style of combat. So I think right now it's in the sweet spot. It's quick enough, but you still feel like you have a choice. We tried at some point to really not have any choices in the combat. It was just whatever units are there that they fight, and you do not have a say. And it wasn't as compelling. You wanted, like players wanted to feel like they could influence the outcome of the combat still. But in general, the balancing of the game is made in such a way that what matters more is the number of units.
And so we've recently just entered into Act 2, and upon doing so, I had to make a decision about which type of terrain I would eliminate from my run further. At what point in development did you kind of have to go, actually, we're going to need to cull back the options we have to let the mechanics the player has chosen to interact with shine?
Interesting question, thanks. So, you may remember, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I will say it anyway, that the game at first was announced for the end of 2024 when it was first announced, and actually, not a lot of time after announcing it, the publisher came to me and said, yeah, we believe that the game could be better, that it could have more content, it could be, we are ready to support. So of course I said yes, let's do it, and let's take more time. And one of the feedback that they shared, which was actually really true, was that there were too many terrains at once, which made it difficult to enjoy or to perform the combos when you were preparing with your deck, because like in 6 months ago, no, not 6 months, like in alpha build in, let's say, September 2024, you would actually keep all the terrains all the time, And so in the Act 2 and Act 3, you could have up to 4 or even 5 terrains at once. But that wasn't ideal because there were only a few pieces of each. And so, like, if you were into a forest strategy and you only had 4 or 5 forest pieces, that wasn't very fun and it was more frustrating. So this idea came up, or I had this idea, can't remember who suggested it, I think it was me, to actually let you eliminate the terrain so that you can choose to really focus on the ones you work better, like you're better or you are more equipped to deal with. The biggest worry that I had was that you would miss on the resources, because if you eliminate forests, you cannot explore to get food anymore. But actually, we added more options to gather wood, more options to gather the basic resources, and it's not such a big deal. I feel like maybe you're going to miss a certain type of resource going into Act 3, but then that's the challenge, to choose which resource will be easier or harder to gather.
Yeah, because I think it becomes a large series of balancing acts. It's like, okay, I've got more of this, which is great, but I'm missing some of that. How do I find maybe a building that will give me that resource? Or maybe I need to, in the third duchy, I need to spend more of my resources doing expeditions to find stuff rather than spending those resources in another place. And it just makes it so that there's so much kind of to and fro, rather than being locked into going, okay, I'm now stuck in this hole that I have dug for myself. It's, okay, what tools can I find to keep progressing forward? Because those tools are there, I just have to pick them and utilize them in the best way I can.
Yes, definitely. And to go back to the thing I was mentioning earlier, which was that a game evolves as you add more and more contents, and really I think this choice, like the terrain selection choice, wouldn't work in the original scope of the game, when there was, I think it was 80 cards, or even more or less than that, I can't remember, and now it's 115 maybe. So we've added 40 cards when we delayed the game, and now that there were many more options to gather resources, now this choice made sense, and it wasn't going to be frustrating, and it was okay and made sense in terms of the strategies. I expect there's some balancing that needs to be done, but it also validates those choices right. I mean, that dev needed to work the balance. Yes, it's like the balancing is it's always difficult in such a game, and I'm comfortable saying that the game is not perfectly balanced. It's fine. There are some cards that are better than others. I don't think we want to chase that the like perfect balance where every building, every card is on par in terms of its power. But making sure that that they were at least kinda in the same ballpark, or that the costs would reflect their power. It was it's very much something you need to do at the end, because one day the balance is something, and the next day you change a rule, maybe even a simple one, and now the balance is completely different. It's like, I can give you some examples. For instance, you wouldn't be able to heal yourself with gold for a really long time. It just wasn't a feature. It was, just you've lost some points of defense. Just you're going to have to deal with it or use the special locations if you want to refill the defense. And that was maybe too frustrating, so we added the possibility to purchase them with gold, and then suddenly the gold buildings became so much more important and so much more they needed a lot more balance. So all this part of the game was we needed to rebalance it. This was the work of Luca. I should mention. He's very happy about how it went.
And I'm still amazed that I've played about 15 hours of the demo and I've played 12 hours of this so far, and I know that there's still so much of the content that A, I haven't yet unlocked, but B, that I haven't even had the chance to I haven't played a single run yet that utilizes all of the new river stuff. And I had some time with rivers in the demo, but I haven't gotten to kind of explore that new biome yet because I just the moment hasn't been right. But I know when I get there, there's just even more stuff for me to strategize with, find synergies within, and it just keeps offering more little nuggets of things to discover. And I'm just wondering quite how much time I'm going to be able to spend enjoying this game.
I mean, it can be a lot. It can be a lot. I'm a bit of a special case, but I've played 600 hours so far, just on the Steam build. During development, we are using Steam to upload private builds and playtest them. I've been testing a lot more than that while in the engine, and honestly, I mean, to me, but I've said it. I've made the game for myself. It's still fun. Just this weekend I was testing it, and I've played maybe 5 hours, and I was having fun. So to me, at least, it never gets old. And actually, I can also confess that I didn't play everything in the game. I have not played every trial, for instance. And maybe I should. Some other people have tested them, but me, there are some that I never tried.
Well, it's nice to know that you've still got some surprises around waiting for you.
Yes, that's the fun part of it, and if we get to make some more additional content, it's going to be an even bigger game. Alex is asking how many hours can you expect for the audience. For me, it really depends on how much how invested you are in the game, and how much how good you are, and how much you want to complete. I think the progress tree, you need at least 25 hours or 20 to 25 hours if you want to complete it, to unlock all the cards. Now if you want to try and win in all difficulty modes, all challenges, all the trials, could be 50 and could be even more. I don't know, if you want to have the little stamp on each card for using them against the final boss in all difficulties, that can take hundreds of hours.
That's my goal.
Mr.
Ah, yes, Mr. T-Spin.
For a long journey.
Well, so in the summer of 2023, I was in the closed beta for the Balatro beta. And then as soon as I played that, I knew I was going to sit down and try and beat every Joker at every stake and play the whole game until it was just 100% completed. And I did that, and I had a great time doing it, and the audience had a great time watching it. And so when I knew that there was going to be all this content for Drop Duchy, and that it was like it helps that it was doing well for the channel and people were enjoying the videos, and I was really enjoying the demo, I knew that as soon as those kind of things came together, I would want to sit down and see if I could get every stamp on every difficulty with every Duchy and all of that expanded challenge. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited.
Yes, yeah, I was really excited, but I dropped Balatro at some point. I just was too difficult or too time consuming, I guess. But I did finish all the challenges and unlocked all the jokers. I didn't finish all the stakes.
Do you remember the challenge where
to play Drop Duchy?
Do you remember the challenge where there was a knife, the sacrificial knife, locked on the left-hand side?
Yes, I do.
That was my challenge.
I think it's... Oh, it's really nice. That's really nice.
It was fun to get a little thing that I designed in.
That's really cool. I don't think the trials in Drop Duchy are quite as interesting as the ones in Balatro. I'm a bit jealous of them. But maybe if we had some new ones, we can find some better ideas. The trials came quite late in the development, and so it wasn't that easy to find interesting ideas that were achievable in the little time that we had left. But some of those are really fun. There is a question about Switch and console ports. So right now I can make one big statement about all of this. The contract that I have with the publisher, it was it ended basically on launch day. So we only had a commitment to release the game and make a best game we can for the launch. And then everything else we were saying that we need to wait and see how the game does before deciding if there can be some console versions, mobile version maybe even, and some DLC and free updates. This is all I cannot commit because we really are waiting for the sales figure. Right now they're quite good, I think. I mean, it's my first indie game, so I do not really have many points of reference, but I feel like it's really quite good. If it remains that way and it's not just like 2 days hype and then nobody cares, I think we will be able to continue developing more content and port it to new platforms.
Well,
and Switch 2 in specifically, right now I think Nintendo isn't really keen on giving Switch 2 dev kits. So unfortunately, not on the short term, but hopefully when they start, welcoming indies, we'll apply and hopefully get selected to develop the game for the Switch 2.
Well, hopefully. I know I've seen a handful of the indie game streamer group pick up the game, but I would really love to see some of the really big Tetris streamers and the competitive Tetris players give it a go, just to see how they fare with it as well.
Yes, that can be really interesting. I'm a bit worried that they would, find that the Tetris gameplay is too different from the Tetris they're used to. But yeah, that was always a bit of the bet that we made on the project, both me and the publisher, was that is it the sort of game where people would be like would need to be to like both the deck building and the roguelike and the Tetris to enjoy it, or is it more something like if you like only one component you want to try, and you know, maybe even if you're not used to the other parts? So do Tetris players or like puzzle players accept or will enjoy the deck building aspect, or do deck building players who are used to cards will also enjoy the Tetris grid positioning?
Because I must confess, I haven't played
It's
Tetris in a long time, so... So yeah, go ahead, answer Mr. Teaspoon's history with Tetris
no,
question.
yes. I was playing it a lot when I was younger, and during my studies I was also playing like, tons of it on the the school computers. I've done a game design school, and so really I wouldn't say I'm a top player or anything, but I feel like I'm a good player. But I'm not like big into really complex strategies and advanced scoring. I did play also a bit of Tetris 99. I was decent, but not outstanding, I would say.
I was very bad at Tetris 99.
It's a difficult game. I mean, just the fact that you're like there's literally one person out of 100 going to win every game. The odds are stacked against you when you play this game.
Art's asking, which is your favorite faction to play of the three? Do you have a favorite?
I think it's the Republic. It was so the Duchy was the first faction that we've made, and we've always made it, even if it has the field and the food synergies. We wanted it to be not too complex and quite versatile, that could adapt to forest and rivers and faith and other advanced mechanic. So for the second one, what we wanted was to make something that was really unique, and that the core gameplay of the faction was really focused on doing one specific thing, which was doing this city and these neighborhoods. So, and yeah, I've always liked this mechanic, and yeah, I don't know, and maybe it's also probably the faction that took the most work because of the special mechanics that it has, and how much time we spent changing the upgrades on the Belfry.
The Belfry tree is amazing, just how much customization you get for the thing that you want to achieve through 9 courses of upgrades.
Yes, that was really a really difficult one to do. We had some more. It evolved over time, and generally speaking, I can say that there are really few cards in the game that have not been changed. Like all of them, we tried some things, some rules, and it wasn't as fun, or it wasn't versatile enough to be included in its role decks, or the synergies weren't good enough. So we tried a lot of mechanics. So even if the game has like over 100 cards, we maybe designed 300s or even more than that, and only selected the best. And for the Belfry, yeah, it was no exception. Even if it's a single card, but at the same time it's 1,000 cards, and it needs to stay balanced and fun and interesting. It was a really interesting design challenge.
The folks in the chat who are asking about who the game was designed for, we chatted about that in the first kind of half hour, so you'll be able to find that answer over in the VOD later. But too long didn't read answer is JB designed it for himself ultimately, and he's very much enjoyed the fruits of his creation.
Yes, I mean, yes, I really wanted, I really liked playing that game, and it is the sort of game that I just did it doesn't exist on Steam. There is, maybe it's interesting bit of trivia. There is one game that is really also Tetris inspired. That's called, I think, Dungeon Block, something like that. But it's actually really different. You're more like building a dungeon out of blocks and then switching to a phase where you move your character around. So, like, where you position the pieces, it's not that important because anyway you can move. And so it's a game I've tried, I don't know, maybe a year before starting to develop Duchy, and I was a bit frustrated because I was hoping for something different. So, but when you're a game dev, you can make games for yourself. So that's the good part of it. It came out recently, yeah. Maybe I tried the demo or it's very small indie game, self-published, or it could have been a prototype on itch.io. Can't remember exactly. Yeah. Did I answer? Oh no, there's another question from Alex. Thanks. From my perspective, there's a sort of loose narrative that emerges through the cards, the faction, the boss. How much was that something you thought about? So, originally there was some sort of story in the game, and it just never worked. Because you're building a duchy or like kingdom or out of blocks and buildings, really nothing made sense. And whenever we tried adding some logic to it, it was even weirder. Why are you building the same buildings every time? Why? Who is the enemy? Why are you invading their realms? It didn't work too well. The game is more abstract, just like board games. And so story-wise and narrative-wise, what we try to do, and on the art as well, is always to have some coherence between several cards, so that there are some groups of cards, and so for the factions or for the I don't know, the religious cards, there is a sort of a theme, and they look good together. They look, they are fine together. Even if it's not actually realistic or logic at all. We have quite a broad definition of the Middle Age, because there are some elements that are, I don't know, 7th century, and others that are 16th century. So it's quite broad, but we definitely and it's something I enjoy in games in general. Try to think of good themes that are cohesive.
Did you have a general interest in kind of history and architecture for the design of the game to be built around this period, or did it just kind of come around organically as you were kind of deciding what era you wanted to have the freedom to design that playground in?
Very nice question. I need to think of a good answer. I think I really enjoyed the medieval era, but I wouldn't, consider myself really too a specialist. I like, the knights, the chivalry, the crusades, I don't know, it's like when kids like knights and or dinosaurs. It's a bit me. I just like this vibe, this period, and so it really came naturally. I think what was important and what I was really worried about when I started the project was whether I would have enough ideas or enough material for lots of buildings. And yes, when you start doing some research, you do find tons of building ideas with the medieval theme, because we always also kind of want the name and the visual of the building kind of reflect the effect that it has.
Yeah, because I think a lot of players, they might not have an innate notion of kind of what does a monastery look like compared to any other generic building.
Yes, no, that's like definitely not something that we expected from the players, or I hope that there are not some medieval specialists or Middle Ages specialists that play the game, because it's probably full of mistakes. But like, for instance, when I was looking in like later stages of the project for a building ID that generates gold but works with forest, and so I just typed in Google and tried to document myself about the forest economy, and of course everything, like most of the things that people would do with forest at that time was just extracting wood, but I came across this idea, or this it's not really a building, but this construction, the charcoal kilns. Don't know how to pronounce it. And,
You got it.
Where they were making charcoal, and that it was sold in the cities then for money. So I was like, yeah, okay, so that's a good theme for a building that produces golds in the forest. That's how I try to come up with a building that are somewhat makes sense between their rule and the name of the visual.
Well, you're now the foremost video game expert on military medieval building variations.
Yes, it's and yeah, I mean, it's not even a joke, because I think we are probably, that I know of, one of the video games with the most buildings in a medieval setting, most unique buildings. Because yeah, at first, of course, I was going on a Age of Empire wiki and typing, list of video game medieval buildings. But even if games such as Age of Empire, which has, I don't know, 4 games now, there aren't that many. So yeah. But if we continue to add some more content, it will be increasingly hard to find new ideas. Alex is asking that the medieval fantasy is strongly identifiable. Yes, right. No, but definitely. And I won't lie, it's like I cannot really define very precisely what centuries do things belong to, the Middle Ages. So I think most people don't really know, or cannot, make the difference, or feel like there is a problem that a wooden fortress is on the same place as a bastion, for instance, although those would have been built 500 years apart. that congruence really helps make play feel more intuitive. Yes, definitely. For the readability, that's something that we agreed on really quickly with Gauthier, on who was drawing all the concept for the buildings. That he really shouldn't go realistic. Should use some weird shapes or unique shapes as much as he could, and also to use different building styles to make sure that they really stand out. If you play the third faction, like the architecture style is completely different, and it helps to make the board more readable.
So when I invited you, when we... Sorry, after you.
Oh, sorry, you were cut a little bit on the Discord.
I was just going to say that we agreed to speak for about an hour and a half, but we've only just got to the end of Act 2, and so I don't know if you wanted to continue on through Act 3 or if you wanted to sign off. I just don't want to keep you for too long if you have other places that you need to be.
I can continue forever. I have nothing after that, so as long as you want.
All right, we will carry on then. I have no idea how stretched your time is now that you've released the game.
I didn't sleep too well yesterday, to be honest, because it's really addictive to just read the reviews and see people play, and but times fly fast. So there was a question I wanted to answer. Maybe you could have something similar to Monster Expeditions, where it tells a story through description without telling you the story. Yeah, we thought about that, and we had some at some point. But to be honest, people didn't care at all about those. So since we're a small team, that's something that I just said, yeah, and asked the publisher to make sure they were okay with it. I just say, yeah, I will remove that part of the game because nobody reads and nobody cares, and instead focus more on the parts that people have fun with. Yeah, at first I really wanted to make it sort of a campaign mode, but it was too big of an effort, so I didn't keep it in the design.
I guess scope creep is you have to keep an eye out for scope creep, don't you?
Yes, I've been at Ubisoft for 7 years, or 8 years, no 7, and so I very much have this AAA mindset where the smallest decision can snowball into adding weeks of work for dozens of people, and when you're developing alone or with a very small team, but on the game I was mostly programming alone, you always feel like, yeah, I can add more. It just, since I'm just adding work for myself, you know, it's my problem if down the line I'm overworked. But no, I didn't want to, and I really wanted to keep the focus on the important parts of the game, and you know, if the game works, like if the core of the game works, there is always room for more ideas, for sequels, for whatever. But if I don't make, you know, really good core gameplay that people enjoy, there's no point in adding fluff and stories and whatnot and other modes, or unless I have lots of money, which isn't the case. Sorry. So I needed to make a game that works, that even, you know, at relatively small scope. There's a question from Fildor. Are you set on keeping the current low fantasy realism for possible future DLC, or do you have also some ideas for high fantasy add-on? I have mixed feelings about this. I feel like I'm not a big fan of high fantasy myself, but my answer would be that if it allows to create some interesting mechanics, we'll definitely, consider it. But yeah, maybe also I really don't like the fantasy expansions for Carcassonne, the board game, like the dragon. I don't like it. Mr. T-Spin, did you intend for an enemy troop topping out to not count, or was this an unintentional exploit? A really specific question, I like it. It's yeah, I think it's sort of like the question of whether or not enemies in reserve should count. When we've play tested, some people didn't like it, others did like it. So yeah, we decided to be more generous towards the player. But we could also have done gone the other way. You weren't really lucky with your placement.
No, I thought these guys were for enemy buildings because they were thieves. I was like, oh, if it's a thief will care about enemy buildings. So
yes,
there's a bad alarm tower for sure.
It was one of the, I think, one of the last buildings that we've implemented. We are trying to explore the idea that there are some buildings that can hurt you or the enemy, or you can play around them. How it's called? Raiders Colony is also on the similar idea. Something that we could also continue to explore if we have the opportunity. We really do have lots of ideas for more content. Just crossing fingers that the game is successful enough.
Well, I will keep shouting about it.
I really hope it works. It's sometimes you get bored of a game when you launch it. You're like, I'm done. I'm glad to move on to some other project. There is a little bit of that on Duchy. We actually have been, starting a new project that is completely different genre. But if we can still continue for Duchy, we have lots of ideas, lots of things we would want to add.
Right,
I think you are going to make it and beat the bot 3.
I must make sure this gets put in the right place for certain.
Yes, it works. Yes. Adjust to the
Like, we haven't spoken about it yet, but the faith mechanic might be my favorite thing that has been introduced in 1.0 compared to the demo. The faith mechanic just adds so much of, like, a way to build your deck and your army and all the components in between that not only rewards you with the extra interest that you get for your resources, but then also has ways to make money, ways to build your military, all the other bits of the synergy building pie that faith affords you.
Yes, it's a mechanic that came really early in the game, in the content, and it was something that the first game designer who worked on the project, Romuald, really wanted to include. The idea was to make some sort of mechanic that's more combo, that you really need several buildings to optimize, but when you have all those buildings, it can be just so good and so satisfying. And yeah, I have to admit it's one of my favorite as well.
But there's I think it's one of the passive technologies where if you have 60 military units gain 1 faith, and then you get that faith, and then the commandery makes more military units, and then that makes more faith, which makes more money from the abbey or the one that gains cash, and then it just makes this tiny little feedback loop at the end, and I love it.
It's a fun story again. It's something that was like, I think in December we had some sort of beta of the game where we invited like friends and family to play test the game. The full game was playable with all the content, and this is the moment when we realized that there were so many loops that were possible, like infinite loops.
Yeah.
And this was one of the loops. So now there are some rules or some safeguards in place so that you cannot have infinite units. But there are some. I think the limit is like 1000 or 999, and it is possible. It is doable to have a group of 999 units with the right sort of loop.
Well, that sounds like a very fun time.
That's I've never done it myself, but Luca, the designer, was in charge of all the balancing at the end. It was finding those and fixing them. So was having lots of fun trying to break the game. Alex is asking, do we dream of making games the process or having made them the product? Honestly, it's both. It's both. I really wanted to, start my own company to have, better day-to-day life, to have better process, less stressful. In the company, we have no meetings or no scheduled meetings. We do not have a task board or anything. It's very organic. We're just, happy creating together. And it was big difference with the Ubisoft, where everything, needs to be more organized because we are so many working on the same game. But then I'm not, I really want also to have the games in the hands of the players and to see them play and react and, improve the game accordingly. I feel like, maybe I shouldn't say that again, but I feel like the demo was a bit too late on the project. I would have loved to release a demo earlier, even if it was less polished. I just enjoy when people are playing the game, and sometimes it's a bit painful when they discover bugs and exploits or complaints. But it's very satisfying to have people play the game and to be releasing the product, and it's hopefully just the beginning.
Fingers
That's
crossed.
Ubisoft thing. Ubisoft loves. Yes, fingers crossed. So yeah, it's really both. If that's also one of the reasons why I chose the project. I knew that it's a game that I would love to play, that I would have much fun playing. But for instance, I'm also like I really love FPS games. But I don't think I would have as much fun designing an FPS or implementing mechanics for an FPS or like tweaking the AI or whatnot. compared to doing menus and doing systems and balancing the economy. This is more of the design task that I enjoy. So that was also one of the reasons why I chose to start this project rather than another.
I'm trying to figure out how many soldiers I'm going to get with my commandery if I have 12 faith. 13 faith.
It's more than enough. Normally it should be more.
More than the 60 I would need to get rid of this prison?
I think that's 5 per face, so 5 per face would be 60. So what's the biggest impact the game has had on your perspective processes in making games? Wow, interesting question. I love it. Yeah, I think the biggest lesson that I learned from the first demo that I really hadn't realized before is that gamers have an ego, and they hate it when a game crush their ego. And so even though the demo, in my opinion, wasn't difficult, when you play the game and you were not really understanding it, and you had nothing to blame, but like you weren't, really knowing what you did wrong, and it just felt too frustrating for some people. So that's a mistake that I wouldn't make again. I would make sure that the game is more clearly telling you what you should do or how you can do better. And yeah, I think in some action-based game, like in the 80s or whatever, when you get hit, when you take damage, it feels fair because you're like, oh yeah, I should have dodged. It's on me. In Duchy, you do not have that, so the only thing you can, like, the reflex for most people is just to say, yeah, it's too random, or it's too frustrating, or it's poorly balanced. So yeah, that's something that I wouldn't do again. What else? What is another, interesting lesson? In terms of process, we're really happy how the game went, like the production went. We were never late. We always delivered the content we said we would deliver. Nobody worked crunch time, so that was quite an achievement in this industry. And so I'm happy about the process. I hope we can continue working this way. It was enjoyable. Yeah. I'm trying to come with a better answer to this. What's the biggest impact the game has had on your perspective process of making games? Obviously also I learned a ton because this is the first game that I've programmed in school. I wasn't a programmer before, so I kinda learned along the way. Yes, you did it. You got a challenge.
I did. I destroyed their prison with my own units.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't there. It's been delayed. But yeah, overall I learned a lot just because it's the first game that I'm doing, on my own for lots of new things that I had to learn that I wouldn't I've worked on in the past on previous companies, in previous companies.
I want more faith, but there's nothing I can upgrade to get more faith. I'm all capped out.
Yes. Ah, you're doing really well. Catracin, yes. Yes, I really do. I really enjoy my life. I'm not saying that there weren't some stressful moments or like there are some times where it can be overwhelming. Like depending how you look at it. I've worked definitely a lot on the weekend because the weekend I was usually playing the game and taking notes on what to do the next Monday. But yeah, for some people it's considered work. For me as well a little bit. So it was a lot of time and effort, but I have a good work-life balance, so I'm really happy with that. You're not healing, like you're not spending your gold to
No, I'm feeling confident right now, which hopefully doesn't burn me.
Yes. I mean, that's the better way to do it, but it's always a bit stressful.
I do like.
Curious, by the way, are you using the reload save option? Yes, sir.
Reload save?
Yes.
I don't know what that option is, but I don't believe I have been.
Yes, okay. So, but in the pause menu, you can reload save, so that just reload the save the last time the game was saved.
Oh.
And so that takes you before the run started. As I've explained a few times already on the Discord and on Steam, there is no undo button because technically it's quite complex to undo a piece and undo everything that all the effects that the piece had. So that was sort of the solutions. So that if you really mess up and you really feel like the run is going to be, destroyed by a misstep, you could always use the real save to go back to the run prior try again.
Well, that's good knowledge.
I mean, some players would do it anyway by quitting the game and reloading, so yeah, I say I might as well add the button to do it more quickly, and it doesn't have to be used. Gothic on it, just learn that you can spin pieces both ways.
Yeah.
Yes, you can, of course.
So I had been, so one of the very minor problems I'd experienced is on Windows at least, if you tap Control a bunch of times, it does this and lets you focus on cursor. And so because spin the opposing direction was bound to Control, it was making everything flash funny when I was doing it. So I've now got it mapped to Q and W to do it both ways rather than jamming on Control. So that fixed that problem for me.
Yes, that's something I didn't think about because I've disabled it, but because it often comes up. Figuring out the right controls is really hard.
I can imagine.
Every player has different expectations, so that's why I've made there are two presets, both for gamepad and two presets for keyboard, and also like fully rebindable control. It came really early in the project because each player kinda has their own preference. The default that I use is the default, like default in the game at least. It's the same controls than the Tetris web I was playing.
I saw there was one player in the Discord that asked about changing a bunch of keys to like, it was like PL colon and hyphen or something, because that's what they played professional Tetris with on their 60% keyboard. And it's like, that's pretty niche.
Yeah, that's really. It's yeah, I've seen some mouse-only controls. So yeah, why not? But I think controls could be, you know, a bit improved. I didn't like it was never. I didn't work on the joysticks, for instance, or the gamepad binding. I could have, because some people really prefer it. Philo is asking actually, are the pieces spinning fitting like in the original Tetris? So there are different Tetris control schemes, so and rules. Yeah, I'm saying Tetris way too much. I hope they don't sue me. But no, basically the answer is no. It's not exactly the same. Sorry, but I don't like the T-spin all that much. The T-spin mechanism. So what I did instead in Duchy is that the piece is trying to fit in the direction you're holding. So when you're rotating a piece, if you hold like the left or the right key, the outcome might be a bit different, and that's how you can fit in more, you know, tight spaces, and so you have access to technically more options than in a classic Tetris. So it's a bit different, but yeah, personally I prefer it that way. Now I know that some players are really used to the other way. Otherwise, yes, there are some similarities. Like there is the kicking. So when you are going to rotate and you're against the wall, the rotation still happens, but the piece is automatically shifted to the right. So things like that.
I think you might have worked a little further away from your microphone. You're getting a little quieter as our conversation continues.
Sorry, I will place it back next to the mouse. Because I've been drinking a bit of water and. Sorry.
No problemo.
You are. I think you are on the right course to win. I hope so, at least.
This encounter, certainly. The boss encounter is a whole other story, isn't it?
Yes, but you have can't have enough. Yeah, I mean, if you could find another better military building, maybe that could be a good thing. But if you have this amount of units against the final boss, it's doable, I feel like.
And I have plenty of gold for healing up with first.
Yes, so when you... That is the monument, but it's not that good against... Interesting choice.
I'm going all in on the religion.
Yes. But the face is really good because it works well to feel the boss bribery gauge.
I do love the addition of this button here on this screen was very welcome. It was
honestly, this screen is it's at first it was much simpler, and then myself when playtesting or players were always asking, yeah, can you add this thing or the expedition menu or the deck menu? Why can't I upgrade the cards? Why can't I get the defense points in this screen? So that's yeah. We've added all the buttons on the same screen. It works. It's been a few hours and I've not checked the game metrics. I need to have a look.
How's the concurrent player count looking?
Wow, we are right now 833. So that's almost a peak.
Good.
All-time peak was 57 minutes ago. So it's good. It's good. We certainly hope that it continues to increase over time.
Hopefully there's that big Friday night, Saturday night bump as people get some time for the weekend.
Yes, that was really one of the questions that we had. As you have noticed, there are so many indie games that come out on Steam every week, every day.
Yeah.
It's a bit of fun fact. The date that we had chosen initially, but not announced, was the day that Clair Obscur came out.
Yeah.
So we are very glad that we avoided it. And there is this cat and mouse game that every indie developer is like waiting for the others to try to find the perfect moment to release and not have too much competition, or at least hope that the competition is games in different styles or genre, so that there is not much overlap. And so we were wondering, I was wondering if Monday was a good day to release. It seems like it doesn't, hurt really the sales, but yeah, we need to wait for a full week, including a weekend, to really know if we see
yeah. You don't want to do things like launch your game when something like Silk Song comes out or something.
Yes, that's definitely. Like, everybody is scared. What happened with the Oblivion, actually? Like, releasing by surprise like this, it's a worst nightmare for indie games, for all the games actually, because you prepare all your plans and suddenly nobody is going to reply to your emails. All the people on YouTube or on Twitch are going to stream and watch that other more popular game. So we're happy about the release so far. There is no new big game that is stealing the show. No, none that I am aware of, at least. We've been ranking quite high on the top selling charts. I think at some point we were like in the top 10, so that's really cool. And the day Silk Song releases, all the people will, all the other indie games will unfortunately have to live in its shadow. Sorry for them. We are still, I think, about top 25 new games. Cool. Do you have other questions?
Oh,
No.
I meant to move that over one piece and I didn't. It's not the end of the world, but it just hurts so much when your thumb just slides over to the spacebar one fraction of a moment too early.
Yes. Ah, you're still fine. You're still fine. You have your face combo. I believe in your victory. And, Designing the bosses was really hard. It doesn't look like it, or maybe it does because everybody has seen the first boss change between Demo. The tricky part is that you want to have a boss that is, you know, good challenge, but that is challenge for all sorts of decks. And one of the first design for the wall, for instance, was that the wall piece was inserted in the middle of the deck. So you basically had to deal with the fact that you would have cards or buildings on either side of the wall, like half, and it was really nice and challenging and surprising at first. And when we started to add like the river or the republic, it just those factions or those play styles just didn't work at all. And it's the same for the dungeon. We've changed it a lot because when you design a boss in this game, you need to test it with all sorts of different strategies, and it should be fun or at least achievable for many different strategies. And so yeah, that's really a big change, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons why we do not have more bosses. It's such a time-consuming and heavy process that we couldn't really include many more.
Are there
I would love to.
any cards in like the late game of the tree that synergize with the wasteland tiles, or are they forever destined to just be a pain?
There's a single one, yes.
A single
Just
one.
only one. Yes, there's one technology that actually like transforms some of the wastelands. The reason why we didn't include more is really because it was interesting design, observation that we had. Very few people already were playing with the mountain synergies because they felt like it was like too late. They had already decided what their deck was going to be like.
Yeah.
And so they didn't want to start finding mountain cards. So we made the mountain cards a bit better. I did more, one more guild and everything, so that the mountain, even if you can only get them Act 2, you won. Congrats.
Thank you. I love this. This is lovely.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice board. So yeah, Fielder, actually, you're right. The Belfry is an upgrade that makes Wasteland produce units, and it's one of the changes we've made on the Belfry really recently, or like not that long ago. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, so we've tried to have some Wasteland-based cards, but unfortunately, people would like never use them because it was just like too late to create interesting synergies. So we said, yeah, we need either we find some other way to do them, or we just focus on other synergies, and maybe later we try to come up with new mechanics around the the wasteland. There's the raider colony is doing something with the wasteland. Maybe some others like that.
I'm sure there's plenty of options for design space. No, go
Yes,
to Alex's.
definitely. And you know, the medieval theme we've talked about, there are so many things that I would love to include, like I don't know, some Vikings, some breweries, some I don't know, druids in the Stone Age. Tons of ideas we can add. A witch swamp, something like that. Yes, congrats. Really nice. The photo, or like the screenshot mode, was something we added really recently also.
So I think that will pretty much wrap up our evening, unless there's anything else you'd like to say to the wonderful 50 or so people that are watching, apart from obviously go and follow the link in the description, buy the game, leave a good Steam review, and enjoy it.
Yes, you've said it really perfectly. Support your local indie devs. We very much need this. Oh, we would love to have this game successful, and if it is, we will continue to support it with even more content and even more ideas. And really thank a lot for all the support. And I also want to thank you, Gothic, for all the content and like the explanatory videos. You've introduced the game to lots of people, and I'm super happy to follow your adventures.
Well, it is my pleasure.
The road to 100%. Congratulations for this win, and thanks for tonight.
Thank you ever so much. So yes, chat, that will be the end of the stream for today, but look out for me tomorrow. I've got my 5th round match for the Major League Balatro against Belanos Bear to finish up the blue stages in that competition. But for now, that is everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Find the links to the Steam page down below. If you have the game, you can follow the link to the Discord, where you can submit bugs or talk to the developers and other players about strategies, things that you're seeing, things that you'd like to suggest, all that good stuff. But yeah, support indie devs, have fun, play video games, and be kind, be well. And yeah, thanks ever so much for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it.